Yo, 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 yo. Oh! Let me get my chat up on here, even though no one's watching yet. No one's watching. There we go, Penis. Penis is watching. Are we live? Are we good? Are we golden? Okay. What?
Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Jeff, and you know, maybe, just maybe, Call of Duty is not doing very well. So about a week or so ago, I made a video talking about people talking about the declining numbers in Warzone. At the time, it was around like 30% of the
Oh,
players
Warzone.
ended up dropping off after the initial release. And at the time, I was saying, I mean, these numbers pretty much line up with, how it happens every single year. But since that point, it has actually gotten progressively worse. So now at this point, over 40% of the player base has dropped off. Now, this is specifically over on Steam, and Steam does not encompass, across the board all players. Obviously, over on console, they're gonna have their numbers as well. But again, I had to point this out for the past few years. We talked about the Steam charts and stuff. There's always a group of people that say, well, it's just the Steam charts. It's not, the consoles or whatever. But I will say, again, trends are a thing. If there's not a very obvious reason, like some sort of performance issue over on console or PC or something that would force people to quit on a specific platform, you have to assume that the trend is happening across the board. Now, does that mean that console numbers are down by 40%? No, it could be lower, it could be slightly lower, it could be slightly higher. But I highly, highly doubt that they're gaining players at this time. The number is just too significant over here on Steam in particular. I still play on Battle.net. I'm not even on that whole Steam thing, but I don't even know how many people are still left over here on Battle.net. But I play a ton of other games over on Steam, but I play Call of Duty over on Battle.net. It's what I've done. Now, one thing that is it's definitely gonna make things a little bit more skewed, I guess, and a little less clear. But because we have multiple games smashed into the Call of Duty title over on Steam, it's a little bit difficult to really get the right numbers anyway. They still show a trend that'll always be consistent, but the Call of Duty category does encompass Black Ops 6, MW3, MW2, and Warzone. So this is why I'm saying Call of Duty in general is dying, not just Warzone, not just multiplayer. Call of Duty in general seems to be just losing player count at the moment, very, very quickly. Now, before when I was saying that the numbers are still lining up with how they were last year and all this other stuff, they had a more successful launch than the past couple years, one of the best launches they've had, but they've seen a sharper decline than before. I absolutely understand the Warzone drop off.
Oh, it's because of Game Pass.
I'm under the impression that the multiplayer is good. I didn't feel any type of way about the multiplayer. Now, obviously, the maps themselves are not the best.
Oh, bro, I don't know, he might be cheating. That was kind of weird. Hey, you watching the kill cam?
I mean, I can hear you.
What, bro? Come on. You gotta climb on top. Hey, his friend up. It's the same dude. They're now on teams. Be careful, bro. He won't miss. Yeah, wow, my bullets came right off him. That's crazy.
Oh.
Okay, not me. These guys stop flying towards me, man. I don't want to fight no more.
Алло. А, и чё? Да, давай отменим. Ладно, хорошо. Ладно, хорошо. Ага.
I'm going over here. Trying to just have a conversation. Wait, I'm using the wrong weapon. I just realized. I'm done with the MP5. I need to do the KSV. That's my next one. I understand the Warzone drop off with the no big map or anything like that. There's hackers and all that other shit going on for sure. I absolutely understand that. The anti-cheat is a joke right now. I haven't ran into any hackers myself. I'm Plunder anyway, at least not what I've noticed. But it's definitely rampant over in the ranked mode. I see people die by it all the time. So just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Yeah, that the maps suck overall, but it's still surprising to see how many people actually drop off that shit. They're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go play something else. And that could be another factor. There are just other games to play right now. Having an alternative absolutely helps. That's for sure. With that said, I don't think that there's really a Call of Duty alternative in terms of an FPS that people are playing in comparison that's in the same exact kind of genre. Shit, I mean, I wasn't playing for a good amount of time just because I was playing PvP. Absolutely understand. I see people play Marvel Rivals as well. I haven't really been playing too much Marvel Rivals. I'm not a big Overwatch style of game fan, really. I can't play for a long period of time. On top of that, I mean, the rank is it's not really a serious game. I don't know how to explain it. The game is obviously not designed in a way that is actually meant to be competitive, if that makes sense. Even the way that Marvel Rivals is approaching buffing and patching and nerfing and all this other shit, it's big windows between the bounce patches and stuff. It's definitely designed in a more casual way than say Overwatch in comparison. It seems like more people are definitely playing casual over ranked. Now that's usually the case. Usually people are playing the normal matches over the ranked anyway, no matter what game you're playing. But this game just seems to have a really big casual player base, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Anyway, I get that the maps suck overall in multiplayer. I'm surprised that they suck so bad that people would stop playing over the maps alone. There's definitely more to it, and honestly, I think just fatigue might be the thing that is making people a little bit more just willing to drop it. You know what I mean? It's not like Call of Duty isn't gonna come out the next year. It's Call of Duty. It's gonna keep going no matter how bad it gets. So people feel more comfortable with just dropping Call of Duty in general. Which honestly, I would say is a good thing because again, there are so many people that are locked into playing Call of Duty year over year, and I understand if you're a mainly Call of Duty streamer or YouTuber or creator, whatever. Call of Duty's your main thing. You're probably not gonna get viewership on other things or whatever. But I'm telling you, man, expand your horizons. I'm telling you, it is so worth it that it's not even funny to just go and play a different game. I think that there's just a culmination of things that push a lot of people away, like skill-based matchmaking, engagement, optimized matchmaking, the general player fatigue.
Makes sense, dog. Let's see if I'm live. Crazy, I got 30 videos up. Yep, makes sense, dog. Let's see if I'm live. Crazy, I got 30 videos up. Yo, what's up? Crazy, I got 30 videos up. What about Twitch? Damn, that's really cool. It like the accounts work the way that they should. Are my VODs still working? Nope, they're not. Okay. Oh, without caffeine, this is gonna be hell. This is gonna be awful. That might fix, dude. I'm like a fiend. I'm like a fucking fiend, dude. Ugh, my head. Okay. We're pushing through it. We're pushing P, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's lock in. "60 seconds on the dot. Baby! Let's go." Okay.
Address for package deliveries or just a simple login page. Very user interactions are incomplete without user inputs. A lot of the time, we need users to either fill up a form and add their details for maybe a survey or to record a delivery address for package deliveries or just a simple login page, very similar to the one that we're building in our application. So in Flutter, we have a widget called text field. And if you simply run this, here you will see that now it can take some user input. Now by default, the styling has an underline, but we can change that. Let's add a property called decoration and give it an input decoration. If you're wondering what should be the widget associated in the right-hand side of this property, you can just go to the documentation here and see what is the type. And here you can see that it says that by default, it draws a horizontal line under the text field. So this styling is by default. But now let's add a different decoration that resembles our final design. So in this input decoration, let's add a border, which will take outline, input, border. And now let's run this and see this has a rectangular border.
Oh yeah, I covered this already.
Here I can add text editing controller, click on the login button. So when I click on this again, this printed it here again. Now let's do the same for the password field.
Oh wait, I didn't finish this.
Pass the values down and save it to local source. So now text fields have this one property called onChanged, which again takes a callback.
Wait, let's see if we can implement this ourselves. Unchanged, okay, and then here we can make a a function called void get user name. Is gonna be which is gonna get the user name, and then gonna print user has logged. User has logged in. And then here it's going to be unchanged. Yeah. Username. Oh wait, so that was stateful widget here. Can you only do it with yeah, fuck it, whatever.
Call back here and it takes a value parameter. So you can print this value itself. So let me add this here.
Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Value. Okay, cool. I wish it didn't print out all this shit.
Here. Now this on changed can listen to the character. The characters typed, and then you can do whatever you want to do with that value. So let's just run this and I can show you in the console. So now if I'm typing something here, it's printing each character addition. This is a good use case if you want to validate the characters while the user is typing. However,
Yeah.
we want to get the final text once the user
Like for
taps on
example,
something. And
like
there
for-
doesn't seem any way to access
like
this
for
on
example,
change.
you could do like a password like checker. For example, if you're signing into an account, ooh, that could be a cool little thing. Is add like is add a Firebase integration, and we could validate it on the front end, if possible. That would be
change
sick.
value from my elevated button on pressed. So let's see what we can do. But before that, let me just change the text here to login and the font size to something a little better. Now this looks better. So now let's see. This text fields have a property called controller that takes in a text editing controller.
Yeah, is that it?
So now this text editing controller controls the text being edited. So let me just add the controller here. So here I can add text editing controller.
Controller, text editing controller.
But instead of creating the object here, we should create the object outside of this build method so we can work with this controller object. So let me just take this out, and here I will create a final username controller that is an object of text editing controller. Now I can just reference this object right here. So this way we can catch
final username controller that is
catch the final value of the username text field. So suppose we have the login user, and here we are going to print the username controller dot text. So let me just remove the on change here so that our console is much more cleaner. And now let's run this app. Let's take in the console, and now if I type a username here like Pooja, and I tap the login button, if you see that
oh my god, this okay, user has what? How the hell do you
the text is printed right here. So this text was only printed when I clicked on the login button. So when I click on this again, this printed it here again. Now let's do the same for the password field.
So I think the way that this works is what is this? We have a controller. So
we just copy this entire.
So the controller and the text field communicates with each other. Controls the text being edited. So the text field sees that there's a text, which is why whenever we do on change, we can actually print out the text. And then it communicates to username controller, which is this. Creates a controller for editable text field with no initial selection. And then it just gets the information. It's all super, like, way high level.
This entire thing again and make this password controller.
Can we not do the same thing? Oh, I guess since we have two inputs, we would need two separate inputs. We can do value too. Huh? Is that just like a string? Oh wait, we could probably... What is the difference? in value and tags.
controller. And we go to the text field for password, and here we add the controller.
Oh, we did it. I think. How's the editing value? E. Oh, text is just plain text. The full text editing value. Oh, okay. This is just like the raw string data. Interesting.
Password, controller. Similarly, if you print this as well, you will get the final password in the console, which is obviously not a great practice to ever print passwords, but for demo purposes, this is fine. So now I just add some value here and add some value here, and let me check my console and then press the login button. So if you see, this is probably my username and this is my password and this is login successful. And that's it. You created your first text field in Flutter. Text fields are pretty important in mobile apps because we are constantly taking inputs from.
Okay, I wonder if it's also because I'm on oh. Like if I do it on here, for example. It's been a while since I said that. Yeah, okay. So it is absolutely an Android thing. Unfortunately, let's shut this bad boy down then. iPhone it is, my old friend.
inputs from users and creating records for users. Most of the apps you will ever build will definitely have a login page and a sign up page. In this course, we are just building this login page, but feel free to experiment a little and create a similar looking sign up page for your app. Building a text field was definitely easy in Flutter. However, our work is not done yet. What if the user is typing some faulty inputs, like you have a field that takes an email ID, then you must verify that the input has an @character like @gmail.com, or the username or password is less than 5 characters, which your system does not allow maybe. Now, in such cases, you want to throw an error. So suppose you have a validation logic in your login user function right here. So you check that username.controller.text.length because you want to check if the length is less than 5 characters. Then we throw some errors. You can do this exact same thing for password here. Just make this password controller. Now, if there are more validation checks you need to add, the permutation and combination of this if-else checks will be a lot, and there will be duplicated errors popping up on the screen. What we want is a validation error specific to the text field, so the username will have its own number of checks and password will have its own. Now, in some kind of form pages, you might be taking user inputs inputs that probably do not need any validation. However, others do, and that's why in Flutter we have two different types of text fields. One, which we have been using till now, and the other is called a text form field. And this has a validator property that text field did not have. So now it takes a callback function that takes in a value property, which
Text form field.
which is a string. And here you can check if value is null, not null, less than 5 characters, etc. So I can just check if value is not equal to null. I will also check if the value is not empty because sometimes you can provide an empty string and that is also a valid string in some cases. And then I can check if value dot length is less than 5. And then I can return an error here which says your username should be more than 5 characters. Or another condition that we can check is that if value is
Where does it even return?
not equal to null, but value is empty, which is the empty string that I told you about, then I can return please please type your username, because probably at this point of time the user has not typed any. Type in username. Otherwise, you can just return null. Now,
Where does it return to?
let's run this. And I will also open my console here. If any errors pop up, we can see it right here. So let me try something 1, 2, 3, which is less than 5 characters, and do login. Well, it went to login user method and saying that login is successful, so the validation did not really happen. Well, that is because we need to trigger this validation logic at some place, because the framework does not know that we need to validate this input when the user clicks on the login button.
My idea here is we have a separate text field that is invisible, that tries to see what the validator. First of all, can we just call a text field? How do we call this validator? That is my first instinct.
So in order for this to work, we need a form key. So let me create one here, a final variable which will be private here, and it will be a global key of form state.
Okay, dude. Yeah. I was not expecting that.
This key will be used to uniquely identify our form elements, and being a global key, it will be unique across the entire app. Now in our login user method, we can do a null check for form key and check form key, taking the final form key dot current state. If it's not null, then check for form key dot current state dot validate. So
okay.
let's check what is this validate method.
If form key is not equal to null, and form key dot state validate.
It validates every form field that is a descendant of this form widget and returns true if there are no errors. So on true, we are going to proceed with the login logic, but on false, we are not going to let the user log in into the app. But before that, we have this error here which says that this method validate cannot be unconditionally invoked because the receiver can be null. Well, it's saying that this current state can be null, so I cannot.
So we do this. do this. Do this. Okay, that or we pass it in here.
I cannot actually invoke a method on a null object. But it is not true. We actually checked if current state is not equal to null, only then we proceed to the next part of the condition. So here we must tell the framework with an exclamation mark that listen.
Oh, okay. So I was on the right path, just not here.
This current state is not going to be null, so it's okay to invoke this validate method on top of it.
Oh.
So now let me add the if block.
Oh, okay. So why am I not charging? So we add the current. So we add the. No. Sure. Oh my god, I'm so tired, dude. I don't know if it's the sleep or the no caffeine, because I'm not bombarding my body with 300 milligrams of caffeine. But I don't think you would have a dependency on caffeine that quickly. But would you? That's crazy.
Block braces here, and so if this works out, then you basically can print login successful. We can remove this validation logic here.
How do we do this?
Not going to be null, so it's okay to invoke this validate method on top of it. So now let me add the if block braces here, and so if this works out, then you basically can print login successful. We can remove this validation logic here, and else print not successful. But remember the documentation for validate? It says that it validates every form field that is a descendant of this form. But we do not have a form widget yet in the app. So these form fields should be a descendant of the form widget. Let's also make this password as a form field as well. Now post of this should be the child of form. However, form takes only one child, so we cannot add children to it. But we can wrap these text form fields with column, and column could be the child.
Ah, interesting.
So here we wrap this with widget and make this form. Now the form key that we had created, we need to associate that form key to this form widget, which can be done with key, form key. So now the form keys.
Ah, okay.
Form keys associated with this entire form widget. So let's run this. So if I add 1, 2, 3 and then do login, I see there is an error right here in line which says your user.
Wow, okay, so we don't even need. That's sick, dude. That's sick, cause in fucking JavaScript, in React, you would need. Oh my god, fucking React. This actually makes me hate React. React Native specifically. Oh, React text too.
Navigating to widgets via this anonymous method does not. Building a text field was definitely easy. So here we wrap this with, I don't know, more than 5. Here we do not have any spacing between these text fields. We can definitely either provide spacing via the alignment property of column, or you can use this widget called sized box. So here I can add a sized box, which is nothing but an empty box with a given specific size. So I can give this a height and maybe make it 24. And if I run this, there's an empty space created between these two text fields. You can do the same just before the button. So here I can add one size box here, and now see the difference. And now the UI looks much cleaner. There is one more place we can add a text field, and that's the chat input widget in the chat page. So let's add one here, text field, and let's run this. If you can see here in the console, there is a lot of errors.
Oh, this is such a slog today.
Decorator, which is typically created by
My last this day. Let's finish this chapter. Whoa.
There is one more.
Let's finish this chapter and then we will take a break. Make me sway. Make me water. It's a really good chord so far. Okay, let's do this.
We can add a text field, and that's the chat input widget in the chat page. There is one more place we can add a text field, and that's the chat input widget in the chat page. So let's add one here. Text.
Let's.
Text field, and let's run this.
Wait, where are we?
If you can see here in the console widget in the chat page.
Oh, chat input.
So let's add one here. Text field. Text field, and let's run this. If you can see here.
It should be in between.
See here in the console, there is a lot of errors. It says that an input decorator, which is typically created by a text field, cannot have an unbounded width. This happens when the parent widget does not provide a finite width constraint. Do you remember the error when we tried to add this list view inside the column? It needed a fixed height too. And similarly, this text field doesn't like it that we have not defined the width for it. And similarly, this text field does not like it that we have not defined the width for it and haven't mentioned how much it should stretch between those plus and send icons. But I don't have a hard-coded width as such. I just want the text field to take as much space as available. So like the list view problem, we can add an expanded widget around our text field. Now this by default has flex.
Make me sway.
As 1 and the fit as flex fit.height. So it's
Oh,
trying
I
to say
see
that
it.
it can stretch the text field as much as possible. So let's run this. Now the error is gone, but by default this has an underlined input decoration, but we do not want that. Not even the rectangular box decoration, in fact. We do not want any decoration for this text field at all. So here we can add the decoration and input decoration class, and inside it there is something called border.
So, decoration, input, decoration, border, done.
border. And that can take an input border dot none. So we do not want any border whatsoever. So let's run this. And now if you see, the border is gone. So I can type anything. We are not able to see any of the text because it's black, but let's change that here with the style. So let's give text style and let's give the colors to white. So now you can see the text here and it does not have any border around. Around it, which is what we wanted. Also, one thing I must clarify, we won't be using text form field here because there is no validation required for text messages. Anyway, so let's add some styling here. So decoration takes hint style and hint text. So let's add some hint text which says type your message. And this will also take hint style, which is text style, and it would be a little lighter color, which is suppose blue gray. Now if you remove this text from here, so if you can see, type your message hint is right here. Now on this send button, I need to send the text message to my backend database. So I need to fetch this final text message on click of the send button. So we do exactly what we did for login text fields. We add a controller. So here we can add a controller chat message.
Text editing controller.
Controller, which is a text editing controller. Let me add capital T.
And oh, it will be a ton of icon.
We also add a function that can be called by the send button. So here on send button pressed, this can print the text message. So here it could be chat message controller.text. Now,
Oh, okay.
now let me just add some string here which says chat message. Now I can call this from my unpressed here, which is my send. So here I can just add a reference to my function. And since this chat message controller has been initialized with a non-constant value, so we have to remove this const from the constructor. And now there are no errors in this file, and we can run this. So now if I type some message, hi, hello, and then we tap on the send button, you see the chat message did not print it. So let's see what the problem is. It's because
we haven't looked into the text input.
we have not added this chat message controller back to our text field.
This is cool, dude.
So
This
here
is
controller
really
should
cool.
take chat message controller. So now if I run this should work. So let's say hi, hello.
So why is my thing not charging? Hello? Calibrating?
Hello. And now I press on the send button. You see chat message colon hi, hello, which is completely right. So this works great, but one thing is bothering me. If I type a really long message, it does not go to the next line, and it's hard to verify what I wrote. So text fields have this property called keyboard type. So here you can add something called keyboard type.
They have everything. Like they they thought of everything, dude. What does this do?
And it can take a property called text input type dot multiline. But just on running this will still not work. What we need to add is a max and a min line. So the max line is trying to say that this will spill over to 3 lines if the text message goes beyond a certain limit. So here if I say it as 5 and min lines as 1. So now if I run this,
Oh.
you see the difference. So here I'm adding, and now it's going to the next line right here. Also, sometimes text messages fields force a sentence capitalization. So for that, we can add something called text capitalization, which can have text capitalization dot sentences. So now if I run this, you will see I am enjoying this. It automatically created this I into a capital I. And there we go. We implemented text fields with and without validation, with different types of styling, multi-line, single line, therefore covered a bunch of field properties. Mobile apps or even web apps are not just a one-page application. They
You can do words too if you're cringe. And you type like everything as a title. I'm curious what the keyboard type does. Oh.
one page to another depending on the user interactions. Simply put, navigation is a core concept in application, and since our application has two screens at the moment, the button on the login screen has to navigate the user to the chat page, and the logout button on the chat page will navigate the user back to the login page. These chat widgets and login widgets are these full screen elements that we often refer to as pages or screens. But in Flutter, we call them routes. So in Flutter's language, we navigate from one route to another, and this is handled by this navigator widget. This navigator manages a stack of routes and provides two ways for managing the stack. One is the declarative API and other is the imperative API. In this course, we will only be looking at the imperative API, like how we push and pop elements from the stack data structure. Similarly, we call them routes. So in Flutter's language, we navigate from one route to another, and this is handled by this navigator widget. This navigator manages a stack of routes and provides two ways for managing the stack. One is the declarative API and other is the imperative API. In this course, we will only be looking at the imperative API, like how we push and pop elements from the stack data structure. Similarly, we push and pop routes onto this navigator stack. So for example, right now in the stack, we have login page and then chat page. So we can push another route for login page. And now in the stack, we have login page, chat page, and then login page. And then we can pop the login page and also pop the chat page from the stack. Now let's see how we can use this navigator imperative API for these push and pop actions. One way is to use navigator.push method. Here it needs a context and an instance of material page. Page route. So here we can give this right here, and this takes a builder. The builder itself just takes context.
It's a print. Navigate, navigator, not push.
And this builder can build any widget that you want at the end of the navigation. So for example, we can do container, and that has just a text. Hello. Now at this point, this method is outside the build method, so there is no context. So let me pass the context from the onPressed. So here, if you go back to the caller, here there is an error because it needs a context. So we can just remove this and create an anonymous function here. and called login user and provide the context from this build method. So let's run this. Okay, we have one error here, which is the semicolon. So now let's try to run this. So if I click on this right now, it will not have any effect because I need to give the username, so I can just
Interesting.
give something here. And now if I try to log in, it's trying to go to a page that says hello. But mostly we were provided with the screen widgets that we've already built. Like in our case, I want to push the chat page widget onto the stack. So I can just remove this anonymous random container and add the chat page here.
Nice.
Now let me try to run this again from scratch. And let me give a username here and login. See, now we are able to navigate to chat page from our login page.
Nice.
Now we have this logout button here in the app bar where on clicking of it, it should go back to the login page. But first we might have missed the theme for the chat page app bar, and that's why both background color and text are white and you cannot see anything.
We can though, so we can probably do it already. So let's just add a void logout. We can just do navigate or push. Material. Page route builder. Context. Oh no. We gotta go do chat page. Hey, it works.
So let's fix that. Let's go to the main.dot. And here we have the material app theme, and that is where we can add some app bar theme as well. So here in the app bar theme, I can provide an app bar theme, which basically have the background color as something like colors.blue for now. And there could also be the foreground color, which can probably be colors.black. Now, if I run this, see the difference. So at this point, we have the foreground color black applied to all the icons on the app bar. But in the your pop behavior is applied. So if I click on this, it goes back to login.
Oh, we pop. Interesting. Okay, I get it. Since now chat is on the stack, is on the top of the stack. Wow. 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 That's cool. It's dope.
What is up?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the group that I joined. Like we lost like half of our people. You know, I was the core a lot more H1Bs. Just due to the nature of their employment, I made a lot of friends that were H1Bs, and I still, you know, I still hang out with them today. But they always have that looming over their heads, and it's a massive amount of pressure, especially if you start getting to the point where you root yourself in the United States. You maybe have a family, you meet someone, you get married, you have kids. Qualified people that person could find were from the exact same country that they were from. And this is not like a thing against like India, because this is actually true for different places. I noticed this.
Yeah, it's in-group bias,
so,
effectively.
Yeah, and that was very odd. Another thing that I noticed, because at the time that I joined, shortly thereafter, massive layoffs. The group that I joined, like we lost like half of our people. You know, I was the cohort that I came in with. Like within 3 months, like half of those people got laid off, right? So I really like busted my butt to sort of keep, you know, ahead of the pack, and that worked out for me pretty well. But I was working like crazy, like 6-7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I don't know how to talk to girls. That's the issue, dude. I have all these girls matching up with me and shit, you know, just like fucking pussies. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But like, I don't know how to do anything, dude. It's fucked up, dude. Fucked up. Ugh.
Family and had kids, it would have probably been more stressful. But I'm wondering what percent of that stress is from having a family and kids, and what percent of that stress is from the additional having a family and kids and having a visa. Do you know what I mean? And I'll give you one more example before I pass it back to you. The guy that sits beside me is a super crack dev at my previous firm, and he has a family and kids. And I wonder, like, I know this guy could be making like base 250 somewhere else, but he was making like base like 185. And I asked myself, what percent of his reticence to find a new job is the fact that he has a family and kids, and he's just comfortable where he is now? You know what I mean? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it changes your perspective once you start, once you settle down and you have a family and you have kids. You have to sort of start taking a certain amount of calculus. You know, you have to take into your calculus like risk and risk tolerance now. Obviously you have your own aspirations and you have your own goals and you want to achieve those, but you have to level that with your responsibilities to your family, right? When you're younger and you don't really have that, you can sort of make decisions that you might take a certain amount of risk, and you know it, you take it knowingly, but you're willing to do it because it's you, right? It's you, and you don't really, if it falls through, the consequences are on you, and you're just willing to do that. But once you
Okay, cool. Let me take a fuck. I don't even know. 30-minute break. All right. Let's see how we feel after. Okay. ERB.